Hey everyone, I'm Chelsea, and welcome back to Midwest Fright. Hey everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed that little switch up on the intro. I wanted to try something different, so I figured why not just introduce myself at the beginning and see how that goes. So let me know what you guys think about that, especially everyone that has stuck around from the beginning. I know this is still fresh and new. If you guys haven't already listened to it, but go back and listen to episode whatever where I talk about the movie Fresh. Ha ha ha. Anyway, we're here for Wicked Wednesday, but of course you guys know that I'm going to kind of ramble about some random stuff. Real quick, have you guys watched the Gabby Petito documentary on Netflix that released a few weeks ago? Holy shit. Let's talk about that later. I mean, I might do that on Frightful Friday. Not this coming Friday. I've already got a case planned, and that'll be a surprise because that also infuriates me. But holy shit, I didn't realize how in depth with the Gabby Petito case, like some of the stuff that I missed or that wasn't released. Dude, his parents knew, and why are they not being charged with anything? Like, I understand they didn't have to talk to the police officers, but come on. Like, what if that was your kid? What if the roles were reversed, and what if she came back and your son didn't? Like, you would be pissed too, right? Oh, it makes me so mad. But also the other thing that made me mad, because I was talking to my mom about this, anytime I've ever went camping or on a trip where I'd be gone for a few days, even just like one day, I'm just like texting an update just randomly. And if she doesn't hear from me in a few hours or by the next day, she is blowing my phone up. So I'm not mad at the mom. Okay. Like, they lost their child and it was horrible. I cried. I mean, if you've seen the documentary and you don't feel any sense of like sadness or heartbreak, something's wrong with you. Anyway, I asked my mom, I was like, dude, why did it take her mom almost like 10 days or 5 days or however many days it was? Because it's been so long since I watched it. Anyway, it took her days before she finally went to the police and said, hey, I can't get a hold of my daughter. And I understand they're out doing the van life, and some areas don't have good signal, but come on, there's got to be a point where you're like, hey, no pictures, no posts, what's going on? I felt so bad, I don't know. So leave in the comments what you guys think about it. Like, what was something that you found to be kind of just, obviously the whole case is devastating and heartbreaking, and it's not the outcome that anybody wanted. I also, the friend of Brian and Gabby's, which mainly was Brian's, where she's like, oh yeah, he said he was in love with me. I'm sorry, nobody asked you. Like, why did you feel the need to share that information? Anyway, so crazy. Let's talk about it. Maybe we'll do it in a later episode, but let's get into what we're here for today. Okay? Just had to share that little tidbit. It's Wicked Wednesday, and today is the day where I read short, scary stories from Reddit. I have not read any of these yet, so I don't know what is to come, but let's dive right in. So the first one is by Dotted Rider, and it is titled Into the Woods. My flashlight beam shined against the trees, and with each step I took, my sneakers crushed dry twigs. I pulled my scarf over my mouth as the chill of February seeped in. I took out my phone and checked the time. 8:49 p.m. Then I unlocked it and opened my photo gallery. I swiped through a few photos until I found the one I had been looking for. Olivia and I were smiling under the oak tree near our school. It's been about 2 weeks since she went missing, and so far nothing's turned up yet, no matter how hard the search parties have tried. The sound of footsteps start to grow louder, and I spin around. "Cecily," my friend Troy yelled, jogging towards me, his flashlight bouncing up and down in his hand. "Geez, you almost spooked me there for a second. You can't just wander off like that." He smiled. "Sorry, let's just continue walking," I muttered. We passed several more trees, peering everywhere with our beams of light. I suddenly stopped in my tracks, a noise causing me to become alert. I turned around and pointed my flashlight. Nothing was there, just rows and rows of trees. Troy noticed this and turned to face me. "What is it?" he asked. I shook my head. "I thought I heard something." I walked ahead and Troy immediately followed. "You know, Cecily, we should be getting home. It's getting late," Troy said, but I shook my head. "No, we'll be fine." "But won't your parents be worried sick waiting for you?" Troy asked and put a comforting hand on my shoulder. I brushed it off while not looking at him. "You and Olivia are the only people that worry about me," I responded, my voice nearly dry of emotion. A long silence passed as we walked, and I could feel Troy's gaze lying on me as we traversed. I stopped in my tracks again. A slow groan. I quickly grabbed Troy's hand without saying anything and started running. Each quick step of my sneakers was filled with adrenaline, and my heartbeat surged higher and higher. The sound grew louder and louder until we finally got to it. We soon found ourselves standing in front of an oak tree. It was shockingly larger than the one at our school, but that thought soon vanished as my eyes focused on what was in the center. A girl. The state of her body was terrible. Her eyes had been stabbed out of their sockets by thin tree branches. Her chest was ripped open and was filled with several thick branches. I could even see that some of her internal organs remained, such as her heart. Her limbs were contorted at odd proportions and bound to the branches, her bones even popping out. I took a few steps closer and noticed her lips slowly moving, and she groaned something loud enough for me to hear. "Silly, help me." Oh, so that was some dark Blair Witch, Slender Man, Yellow Jackets stuff. Okay. Someone commented, "Honestly thought Troy was going to be the problem." Same. Mother Nature's gifts are either precious blessings or horrible creatures. I liked that. Okay. What'd you guys think? So that was Into the Woods by Dotted Rider. I kind of want more of that. Yeah. So let's save them for later. All right. Number 2. This is another author we have read from before. This is by 1001 Nights. It's titled Disaster Day. In the darkening twilight of her years, Miss Scott remained haunted by the memories of that terrible day. She remembered every single detail about it. The way the sun continued shining through the window, and how the bell rang suddenly, cutting above the screams of Mrs. Roy. How the window blanked for a split second as something fell outside, landing with a sickening thump. She remembered what she was wearing. Khaki pants with her red checked, I think that meant checkered shirt, and details like how Charlotte had her hair in that single thick golden braid that made almost every boy want to pull it, and how Piper had a fever and had to be sent home before noon. Her mom had grumbled at the time about having to leave work and pick her up, but she was forever grateful afterwards. Miss Scott had been standing by the blackboard. She had just written up the 6 times table. The kids were caught in the past noon stillness, and the classroom was warm from the sun pouring in. There was none of the restless energy of the mornings, the rustle, the feuds, complaints, and giggles. Miss Scott was thinking that she should go pull the blinds and get the kids to stand up and do some movements to break the drowsiness. She glanced at the time. 1:11. And then it happened, with no warning, no sound. At first she thought the children must have actually fallen asleep, in mass hypnosis or imitative behavior. All of them. Their eyes closed. They exhaled, and there was no inhale. Some dropped out of their seats and sprawled dramatically on the floor. Some slumped backwards, their necks loose, their face lolling towards the ceiling. Others face planted on the desk. Miss Scott stared. The dramatic poses on the floor looked like a prank, and she found herself desperately wishing it were. But they were completely still, and Miss Scott knew, even before the screaming from Mrs. Roy shattered through the corridors. Poor Mrs. Roy. Her daughter Penelope was in her class. It wasn't Mrs. Roy who flung herself out of the classroom window, though. Unable to bear the realization of what had just happened, that was Mr. Anderson. The rows of dead kids was too much. He rushed to the window and jumped. His class was just over Miss Scott's, and it was his body that had darkened her window. She realized that later, of course, as the country reeled, trying to figure out what had caused millions of school children aged 5 to 16 to drop dead at their school desk, conspiracy theories went wild, from alien waves to homegrown diseases. The government, Russians, Chinese, Canadians, Arabs, nothing was proven. There was no official story. The bodies were perfect. Parents, grief-struck, ran rioting in the streets. But even that died down. The economy struggled and then righted itself. Miss Scott felt she was the only one who remembered Disaster Day, as she waited for death any day now for her. Okay, that was weird. What'd you guys think about that one? I don't have a comment. That was Disaster Day by 1001 Nights. Let me know what you think. What do you think it was? I think it was aliens. All right, so this next story, number 3, it's by another author we have read from before. It's by The Real Doc Turner, and it's titled My Dream House. The house never ends. Every time I think that I've discovered every nook and cranny, I'll stumble across another hallway, another great room, and in all of them, I'll find someone I once knew. They'll stare back at me with tears in their eyes and their blood spilling out of some wound that I had wished upon them long ago. Every room and hall are adorned with windows that look out over perfect green fields and a rolling ocean of any boat or sign of life. And although I feel as if I live in darkness, there's never a dark corner to be found in this mad house. Everything is always bright, and the air is electrified with the sound of suffering. Silence does not exist under this roof. The desperate petitions of forgiveness are endless, and I find that I am unable to oblige or grant any kind of mercy. I'm powerless in this place, and my words hold no authority. Broken furniture and bent curtain rods lay strewn about the shiny wooden floors. Failed attempts to break the windows or to pry open any of the doors that would let me outside. There's a room at the top of the grand staircase in which I used to find a morbid solace when I first came here, although in truth, that only lasted a few hours. A woman who was once my wife and her lover are tied naked to a bed, and their insides are turned out by a man in a mask every few seconds. The main kitchen has a great oven where my mother never stops burning. She begs me to let her out. I had tried at one point, but I've given up on ever letting her free of that prison. In almost every room, there's someone, a soul I don't even remember hating for wrongs I can't seem to recall. All of them suffer whatever it was that I once wished upon them. I no longer take any joy from their endless punishments. The only room that I have to myself is a sitting room that looks out on the ocean, and it's in this room that I finally succumb to the madness. I stare into the raging fireplace that gives no warmth, and I steal away small bits of char to draw hash marks on every wall when I assume a new day has begun. It's here where I heard the voice through the flames long ago, back when hope had not yet died. Are you happy with the home you have built? No, I don't deserve this. Why am I here? Because this is where you wanted to be. I was a good man. I tried my best. It's not my fault that everyone loved to hurt me my whole life. Why do I deserve to be in hell? Hell doesn't exist. Everyone goes to heaven. This great house was always your idea of it. Every waking moment of your life. Oh, that was deep. You know, that I feel like that kind of came from like another story, but that was good. Okay, what'd you guys think about My Dream House by the real Doc Turner? That was number 3. Let me know. That was good. That would be like a cool short film. I liked it. All right, number 4. This is by Trash_Tia, titled Bloodstained Cigarettes Taste Better at Night. I was falling asleep in class again. I barely noticed my head drooping. I blinked once, twice, 3 times. The problem wasn't just falling asleep. I was losing my nights. I had bruises I didn't remember getting. Finn, you're sleeping again. Mr. Brighton coughed loudly. Mr. Crane, you are one of my best students. I need you to focus, all right? Focus? Something snapped inside me. A visceral, slimy something creeping up my throat. The word felt both wrong and right. I blinked and I was staring at a shadow beneath a pitch-dark sky. Freezing air stung my cheeks. My lips felt numb. I stood paralyzed, feet bare, legs apart in an alleyway. Please. The shadow dropped to their knees. Fucking please, let me go. Finn? I jumped awake, coated in sweat. Freddie Greenwood nudged me. Dude, he whispered. His southern drawl was comforting. You okay? Nightmare or something? Let him sleep, Alice Adams teased. I'm fine, I managed. Freddie inclined his head, and I glimpsed a burn under his eye. What did you do to your eye? He frowned. What do you mean? That night, I was determined to stay awake, downing prescribed ADHD pills. 9 a.m. came, and so did a light knock on my door. I opened it, finding a gun pointed between my eyes. Alice. Vacant eyes, lips curled into a scowl. Confirm your identity, she murmured. Fail to respond, and I'll report it. Panicking, I swallowed puke. Finn Kane. I stayed still, emotionless. Confirmed. Good. Alice dragged me to an old apartment building and handed me a key card and a knife already slicked with stained scarlet. Your client is expecting you. Alice straightened. Your king wants you to focus. You're supposed to be our best, so fucking act like it, Kane. She sighed. You're losing your rep after Greenwood tried to escape. Behind me, Freddie left room 403, lipstick smudged, collar open, hair astray, a trash bag in his hands. Freddie's eyes were empty. His arms were bruised, blood under his fingernails. He turned around, dragging the trash bag with him, a gun tucked into his jeans. Alice shoved me inside room 408. A woman, my age, mid-20s, lounged on the bed smiling. On the floor, a man lay beheaded, blood staining the carpet. "Oh," the woman smirked. She picked up a cigarette, lighting it up. "Focus. You're here early." Her lips curved into a smile, looking me up and down when I dropped to my knees, already cutting through cartilage and bone. The knife felt right in my hands as I easily hacked off the man's left arm. The woman watched me with amused eyes. "Time to focus, baby," she hummed when blood splattered on my face. "Focus." I did, jumping to my feet, twisting and pulling my gun from my jeans, stabbing it into her forehead. She squealed with excitement, grinning wildly. "The king mentioned you're one of his best students. I want you to show me how good you are." What? Is this like an episode of Blade Runner? I'm confused. Were we in high school? What happened? Okay. That was a wild ride. Again, that was Bloodstained Cigarettes Taste Better at Night, and that was by Trash_Tia. Let me know what you think. I think we're on number 5. Sure, number 5. All right, this is by One Bitter Student. Have we read one of those before? Possibly. And this is titled, If You See Me, Shoot Me. For the past month, reports of identical people had flooded the city. Not twins, not clones, doppelgangers. They took everything. The face, the voice, the memories. They slid into lives like shadows, weaving themselves into the routines of their victims, fooling even the closest friends. When the time was right, they struck. By the time anyone realized, it was too late. The trusted imposters devoured them, leaving behind nothing but blood and ruin. The city spiraled into paranoia. Neighbors turned on neighbors. Families locked their doors. It did not matter. When your time came, it came. I never thought it would happen to me. Yet here I stood, heart pounding, sweat cold on my skin. Across from me, my best friend held a gun, eyes darting between me and the thing standing beside me. It was perfect. My face, my voice, my memories. "I answered all your questions," I begged, voice shaking. "Please, it's me." The other me spoke at the exact same time. "Don't listen to him. Please kill." The gunshot ripped through the air. A bullet drilled into his skull. His scream sounded just like mine, warped, twisted. A grotesque mix of agony and something else. I staggered back as his body crumbled, the relief washing over me in waves. I was alive. I won. I looked up at my friend, ready to thank him. His eyes were wrong. The color was off. Not his. Not human. My chest tightened as his lips curled into a slow, unnatural smile. His mouth stretched open too wide, lined with jagged teeth glistening with saliva. A low, guttural voice slithered out. "No sharing." His hands latched onto my shoulders. "You are mine." I screamed, I thrashed, I fought. It did not matter. His jaws unhinged and my vision filled with darkness and teeth. The first bite crushed my shoulder. Pain swallowed me whole. The second bite tore away my arm. The last thing I felt was my ribs cracking open like a hollow shell, something warm spilling out of me as the wet sounds of chewing filled my ears. Then silence. The city would never find my body. But somewhere, another me would walk out of this alley, wearing my face, my voice, my memories. And someone, somewhere, would trust him. Ooh, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, anyone? Okay. So that was If You See Me, Shoot Me by One Bitter Student. All right, on to the next. Number 6. This is by Ronoes, Ronoes, and this is titled Gas Station. I was driving home from work when I noticed something was wrong. The roads didn't look right. Street signs were missing. Familiar landmarks had vanished. At first, I told myself I'd taken a wrong turn. But the farther I drove, the more the world around me felt off, twisted, as if I'd slipped into a version of reality that wasn't quite my own. Then, up ahead, a gas station. A single flickering light buzzed above the pumps. The sign was old, its lettering too faded to read. The pumps themselves looked ancient, yet somehow the station was still operating. I glanced at my gas gauge, nearly empty. With no better option, I pulled in. The place felt wrong. The air was unnervingly still, thick with dust and decay. No other cars, no signs of life, just a heavy silence pressing in around me. I hesitated, then stepped inside. The glass door resisted as I pushed, finally giving way with a groan. A weak bell jingled overhead. The air inside was stale, like it hadn't been disturbed in decades. The shelves were lined with products that looked outdated. Too outdated. Dust-covered candy bars and unfamiliar wrappers, soda bottles with pull tabs instead of twist-off caps. A newspaper by the counter read, June 3rd, 1974. Then I saw him. A man stood behind the counter, rigid, motionless. His eyes were open but empty, staring straight ahead. His chest didn't rise. He wasn't breathing. I took a slow step back. His mouth twitched, just a small, unnatural jerk, like a glitch in a broken film reel. That was enough. I turned and bolted. The moment I was back in my car, I locked the doors, shoved the key into the ignition, and floored it out of nowhere. My heart hammered as I tore down the dark highway, gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. 10 minutes passed, then 15. That's when I saw it. The gas station. Again. Same cracked pavement, same flickering light, same damn building. But this time, it was abandoned. Windows shattered, the sign hung loosely, swaying in the wind. The pumps were rusted over, vines creeping up their sides. It looked like it had been deserted for decades. My stomach dropped. My pulse pounded in my ears. A shadow moved behind the broken glass. Then, in the dim light, I saw him. The man from the counter. Only this time he was staring at me through the window, smiling. I turned the key in the ignition. Nothing. I tried again, my hand shaking. The engine refused to turn over. I looked back. He was gone. The last thing I remember was my headlights flickering out. And then, nothing. Just the highway stretching out before me, as if none of it had ever happened. So was it like a loop? Did he make it out? Did he die? I don't know. Am I stupid? Man, that's creepy. Like, I like stories like that because, especially if you're traveling alone and you think back on all the creepy stories or like the movies that you've watched of a lonesome traveler and shit goes down. All right, so that was Gas Station by Ronos. Sorry, Ronoes. What'd you guys think? Number 7. I think we're going to do 8 of these because I don't know if I can leave this on an odd number. All right, so this is by Dan Carstini, and it is titled, It Wasn't My Fault. This is a very, very short one. What would you do if you had the power to do anything you ever wanted? I'll tell you what I did. I made a mistake. I mean, it was a simple mistake. It could have happened to anyone. Really, I don't blame myself. Why would I? It's not like everyone is dead. There's still a few of us left. I just hope no one finds out what I did. I think they'd kill me. That would be unfortunate. Then I wouldn't have the chance to fix everything. And I could fix everything. Why would I have pressed the button if I couldn't fix it? But honestly, I don't know if I will. It's peaceful with so few people left on Earth. So what if I damned humanity? We were already damned in the first place. I did us a fucking favor, even if it was unintentional. I mean, it was only one guy I wanted to kill. Maybe it was overkill. I didn't think it would start a nuclear war. But his death meant everything to me. He was a son of a bitch, and he deserved it. Honestly, it's that bastard's fault. He shouldn't have fucked with me. I wonder when I'll be able to get the hell out of this bunker. I miss the sun. Huh. So, is this like a prequel to Fallout? Holy shit, okay. You know, I love me a good post-apocalyptic type game or movie. Fallout's phenomenal. You know, any kind of zombie movie I love. Resident Evil, the games and the movies. I can name Walking Dead, Return of the Living Dead. Don't at me. Anyway, so that was It Wasn't My Fault by Dan Carstini. Hopefully I say your name right, dude. But that was good. Okay, so let's get on to our final one. Number 8. This is again by Trash_Tia, and it is titled Burn the Witch. You're a witch, you're a witch. That wasn't a part of the story. Anyway, all right. I first noticed it on our way home. I smelled it. A putrid stink bleeding into my nose and throat. Fire, I whispered, grasping my brother's hand. In front of me, my sister was already ahead, taking 2 slow steps back, her halo of blonde hair blanketed by a thick gray cloud snaking through the trees. I glimpsed an orange blur in the distance. The orange moved, bleeding, intertwining, a raging fire coming closer. My brother cursed under his breath. I could already hear them, their chant growing louder and louder. In class, the word had been less prominent, whispered, spoken in hisses. But now, out in the wild, our friends wanted blood. This is my fault, Callan whispered, breaking into a sob. I told them about our power. He pulled his hand from my grasp, but I clung on. I hated him, yes. I was never going to forgive him, but he was also my brother, and I wasn't going to let him die. I didn't respond, threading my fingers through his. Witch. They were so close. I could feel the heat of the fire prickling the back of my neck. Their cries grew feral, like animals. I could hear their thudding footsteps. I started to run, tripping over myself, dragging my siblings with me. Callan dropped first, coughing, curling into himself. Annabeth followed, flopping onto her knees, her sweater sleeve covering her mouth. As their big sister, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't save my little siblings and become the family witch. Shredded sneakers stopped in front of me, and I lifted my head, my vision blurry. Sam Wayland stood with a triumphant smile, grimy fingers wrapped around a flaming torch. I knew he was the Dark Witch, but he was powerful, high up in the hierarchy, capable of bending minds. I had no doubt Sam had crawled into my brother's brain, subtly controlling him to expose our magic. Lucy Carlyle, Sam announced, leading the mob. I watched my brother's throat slit with a single flick of a blade, blood stemming the ground. I watched my sister hung, a rope cinched around her neck until her face turned purple and her eyes bulging from her skull. You've been found guilty of being a witch. His lips formed a smile. Your sentence is death. Wait, I shrieked as he pulled out a matchbox, striking a match. He flung it. Fire caught, a scream ripping from my throat. Real smoke, real fire. Molten flames crawled up my legs, engulfing me, burning me, scalding me. I was burning. I screamed, pulling at my jump rope restraints. Sam! Callan sat up, his eyes wide. I thought you said you weren't going to light her on fire, stupid. Annabeth tore the jump rope from her neck, shrieking. Put her out! I don't want to play witches anymore. Sam stood very still, a second matchstick in his hand. He struck it and flung it at me, smiling. Burn the witch. So, instead of playing Cowboys and Indians, we're now playing Burn the Witch. And oh my God. Oh, that gives me anxiety. I'm not having children. Oh my God. Fuck that shit. Hey, have you guys, totally random. I just watched it a few weeks back. Fear Street Part 2. What is it, like 1978 or 77? Like at the beginning where they're like, she's a witch, and they go to burn her with an actual freaking lighter. Bro, those kids need their ass beat. Jesus Christ. I liked that one. What do you guys think? That gave me a little bit of anxiety. I'm never having kids. Goes from a real pretend to real fast. Really, really. So what do you guys think about these 8 short, scary stories from Reddit? If you guys enjoy them and you want me to continue doing this for Wicked Wednesday, let me know. Leave it in the comments or shoot me an email. Let me know if you want to do themes, like if you want to do road trips, haunted houses, because I know back in February we did like a Valentine's Day Love Day one or whatever, and it was just a lot of murdering your spouse's lover. That was a lot. But yeah, let me know what you guys want me to do, and let's see if I can work some magic for you guys. I appreciate you and love you, and this is all for you guys. What else do we have? Not much. Also, let me know which one is your favorite story. I will leave the link for the short scary stories on Reddit down in the show notes. So make sure to click the link, read some on your own if you would like, or if you want me to continue doing this and you have certain stories like you really enjoyed and you wanted to hear it like an audiobook, send those to me as well. You can email me at midwestfrightpodcast@gmail.com, or again, leave a comment on YouTube, leave a comment here on Spotify on the episode, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends that are also into creepy, weird shit and don't mind swearing. I'm working on it. Not really. I think I'm doing a little bit better now that I'm back into a groove, but we'll see how long that lasts. So anyway, I appreciate you guys. Love you so much. Stay spooky, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye.